Hey everyone! Every time your team rebuilds a standard UI element from scratch, you're paying a hidden consistency tax. Today, we're detailing exactly how to save millions of euros by eliminating redundant development work. Stick around to learn the hard math of component consolidation. Let's jump in.
Here is our roadmap for today's executive briefing. Number 1, the hidden consistency tax. 2, the ROI of centralized components. 3, tracking adoption and velocity. 4, ensuring quality and parity. And finally, 5, scaling system maturity. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The hidden consistency tax. The hidden cost of decentralized work. Let me pose a question to you. Right now, across all your various product teams, how much redundant work is quietly draining your company's resources? To really frame this, there's this brilliant observation from Sarah Drasner, Director of Engineering at Google. She notes that without a system, you are paying a consistency tax on every single feature you ship. And it's so true. Every single time one of your product teams rebuilds a standard UI element, like, say, a complex drop-down menu or a date picker completely from scratch, they are paying this hidden tax. It bogs down your time to market and introduces these little inconsistencies that totally degrade the user experience.
Okay, so let's define what we actually mean here. It is absolutely crucial to view a design system not just as some design tool or a glorified brand guideline. No, through the lens of a business asset, a design system is a core accelerator for product development. It's a centralized resource, giving you standardized components and code patterns. It essentially allows your teams to build faster, solve complex interface problems exactly one time, and then deploy those solutions everywhere.
Section 2. The ROI of Centralized Components. The hard math of consolidation. All right, this is where we transition into the core financial calculations to prove the massive tangible return on investment this delivers. To do this, we're using a really practical framework established by Tiago Almeida. Let's set our baseline. Assuming an average annual salary of 140,000 euros for your developers and designers, a single employee's time costs the business approximately 67 euros per hour. Keep that 67 in mind, because this is the fuel you're burning every single time work gets duplicated.
Now, let's break down how these costs actually split. Imagine the base cost of building one medium complexity component. Let's call it a Pandora box. If a centralized, dedicated design system team builds this, they already have the architecture in place, right? So it takes about 30 hours, costing the business roughly 2,019 euros. But if a decentralized product team tries to build this independently, without that shared foundation, they typically take 150% more time. That's 45 hours, or 3,028 euros.
And that brings us to the real issue, the compounding cost of decentralized chaos, because you rarely just have one team needing that component. If 20 separate product teams independently build their own version of that exact same Pandora box component, the total cost to your business balloons to over 60,000 euro. Contrast that with a centralized system where you build it once for 2,019 euros and just distribute it to all 20 teams. The savings on that single component alone is over 58,000 euro. It's wild.
So the real aha moment is what happens when we extrapolate this across an entire enterprise application. By centralizing just 80 core components in a design system, the cumulative savings amount to an estimated 4.68 million euros. That translates to 69,600 hours of redundant work simply eliminated. To put that in perspective, that is the equivalent of 33 full-time work years handed right back to your organization. That's time you can now spend on actual innovation and feature development, rather than rebuilding buttons for the 50th time.
Section 3. Tracking adoption and velocity. Protecting the investment.
Okay, so the math is undeniable, but now we have to pivot from the financial promise to the operational reality. How do we protect this investment and make sure those millions in savings actually materialize on the balance sheet? Well, a design system isn't something you just set and forget. It's a living product, and it requires regular health checks. If it decays, that consistency tax creeps right back in. So you need to monitor 4 critical dimensions. Adoption, are teams actually using it? Velocity, is it genuinely speeding up your time to market? Quality, are we seeing a drop in QA tickets and better accessibility scores? And finally, team health, are your people actively contributing to the system or are they fighting against it?
Adoption is really your North Star metric here. For example, by using analytics and tools like Figma, you can track exactly how components are being used. Obviously, you want to see a high rate of system components being inserted, but you really need to pay close attention to the detachments. That's when a designer actually breaks a component apart to customize it.
If your detachment rate suddenly spikes, that is a massive early warning sign that your system is too rigid and is failing to meet the actual needs of your teams.
Brad Frost, who is an absolute pioneer in this space, puts it perfectly. The value of a design system is realized when it's used, not when it's built. I really want to emphasize this to every leader listening. If you fund the initial build of a system, but your developers and designers refuse to adopt it because it's clunky or poorly maintained, your $4.68 million ROI instantly drops to zero.
Section 4. Ensuring quality and parity. Eliminating the friction.
This part is all about the technical alignment you need to keep your cross-functional teams moving incredibly fast without breaking things. The concept you need to champion here is design code parity. Basically, this means the visual components your designers are using in Figma must perfectly match the coded components your developers pull from the library. You've got to track that coverage. When design assets and code fall out of sync, developers inevitably end up writing custom code to match some new design, and boom, suddenly you are paying the consistency tax all over again.
Think about how this applies at an enterprise scale. Whether your teams are building e-commerce platforms, native mobile apps, or massive big data dashboards, a centralized system guarantees universal brand safety and accessibility compliance. Here's the beauty of it. If an accessibility bug is found, you fix it exactly once in the central system, and that fix instantly cascades across every single digital touchpoint in your entire organization.
Section 5. Scaling system maturity. Evolving the product.
To maintain that massive ROI year over year, the design system requires continuous strategic evolution. It's a maturity journey. Step 1 is where a lot of companies start: highly fragmented development, handcrafted elements, super low adoption. Driven by sheer necessity, teams eventually move to Step 2, where they create loose collections of patterns. But Step 3 is the ultimate goal. This is where designs align perfectly with code and adoption is practically universal. Now, reaching this mature step isn't just about buying better tools. It requires a deliberate culture change and a really focused management of how teams contribute back to the system.
Once you establish a transparent lifecycle, meaning you have really clear rules for how components are proposed, updated, or retired, you launch a shared foundation that just drastically accelerates time to market. Outdated components get pruned, the complexity is heavily managed, and your product teams trust the system enough to rely on it completely. I want to wrap up this strategic briefing with a really powerful mindset shift from Nathan Curtis. A design system isn't a project, it's a product serving other products. Funding a design system means you are funding a core product team. It is not some one-off initiative you just check off a list and forget about. It is vital infrastructure for your business.
So, the final question for you and your leadership team to consider is this: are you ready to stop paying the consistency tax? The data is crystal clear. The math absolutely proves that centralizing your design and development components is not just some fleeting design trend. It is a strategic business imperative that can return millions to your bottom line. It's time to capture those operational savings. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.